Introducing liquid
The anesthesia.
I recently, and recently is a month and a half ago, watched one of your videos, and it was about a mystery that I had heard of before, but the time I'd heard of it before was probably from like one of those like Fox specials where they leave it up in the air. Was it aliens or the devil?
It's one of the two.
50-50.
It's definitely one of them.
But it was, and I think it might be one that I have mocked on here before because of one of the facts in the case. So this is, you'll know right away. I know the pieces. This is the one where that lady survivalist led her group of student survivalists, and only one ended up surviving their retreat, and that person that was a young lady, and she reported the rest of the group like falling ill, going into seizures, clawing at their skin, their faces and stuff, and dying subsequently. And she couldn't understand or make what was happening, and so she just fled. And like 2 or 3 more days later, they found her, but then they didn't go back for the bodies for like couple weeks or something like that. By then the evidence was so and no one's ever really figured out. But it's could you help me out with like what
Absolutely.
actually
So that's the Kamar Daban Pass. That's the region where it happened. It happened in I think it was the 80s, if I remember correctly, 80s, 90s, on the border of Russia and Kazakhstan in a region known as like the Kamar Daban mountain region. I gave most of the details in the video, but the short run through is that this lady was known for taking these groups of hikers on these like week-long hiking trips up into the mountains around Kazakhstan, which are pretty considerable mountains. You've got to be like a decent survivalist to begin with to get up there. And this specific group that she went with was a group of her students, so to speak, who she'd been doing it with for a couple of years. So they were like very experienced. And this pass that they were going on wasn't particularly hard by any means. It was comparatively easy. They had taken all the food that they needed for the amount of time given. There was other groups who were hiking the mountain at the same time that they had planned to have rally points where they would meet up and then continue. And then one day, I believe it was about 5 days into the trip, the other group she was supposed to meet with did not see her at one of these rally points, or her group. And it had rained the day before. So there's a good idea for what the region's like. It had rained the day before, so they just figured, oh, well, they probably just got slowed down because of the rain, and like we'll see them whenever we get there. But sure enough, they get to the bottom of the mountain, and that group isn't there. So eventually, they launch an investigation. People start looking, and then about 3 days later, one of the students who was in that group shows up at a local city, and she goes to the police and tells them a whole story. The exact details of what she said isn't known. And then 2 weeks after that, and that's like one of the real suspicious details of the case. They didn't launch an investigation for 2 weeks. Weather was pretty clear at the time. 2 weeks later, they go look for them up on top of the mountain. And then there is video footage of the entire search for them and their eventual finding of the body. And then I believe it was 6 people. The survivor made 7. 6 people, all within a couple hundred feet of each other, are just lying dead in a clearing on top of the mountain. They're like, a couple of them are lying next to each other. One of them's like more towards the woods as if they're running away. 2 more together at the front of the woods. And it starts to paint a really weird picture. The initial idea at the time was that the survivor had murdered the others, because logically, if 6 people die, only 1 comes back, that would be the solution. However, there was no evidence on the bodies that there was any kind of fight or any kind of strangulation marks or whatever. But then even more suspiciously, after doing a full autopsy, there was no evidence of anything that happened to these bodies. They just kind of dropped over. There wasn't signs that you would see in hypothermia, like late stage, what is it? Like the lung fluid starts to contract or recede or whatever. And the skin of the bodies were too decomposed at this point to see if they were frozen up or anything. So it remained a total mystery of what had happened for about 20 years. Eventually, a reporter, actually it's like more like 30 years, it's like 28. A reporter eventually tracked down the one survivor and asked for testimony, because what had happened is she gave the police a testimony and then never mentioned it to anyone else. So she finally sat down with the reporter after 30 years and gave her side of the story, and said that what had happened is they were just walking down the mountain Everything was normal. It had rained the day before, although they were okay. They had ate breakfast. And then one of them starts screaming and coughing up blood. And then it was the teacher, runs over to help him out. She kneels down next to him and immediately starts coughing up blood too.
Without being like,
well, they also like
Jewish genocidal maniacs.
I had no idea what you were talking about. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, I was meaning like his idea.
National socialism in America. I would like to try it. The problem is society as a whole moves slowly.
Did you see the last frame? It was Hitler.
That's okay. That's super fucking funny. But we all know what he meant. Like no one can say he's a Nazi. He doesn't.
No, of course he's not a Nazi. Although he does have a shaved head.
That seems genetic.
Oh, he knows that. Look.
It's genetic. That's another black pill. There you go.
Dude, the ultimate black pill, going bald. That'd be tough. Where is the line? I'm curious. This is great for audio listeners. Where is the line on your head that you would allow it to get back to before you go whole cloth? You're cleaning house, Vin Diesel.
Oh,
how far would you go?
No. You're missing you're the wrong question. Like how far does it go before we have surgical intervention?
Okay, how far are you saying? Because Kyle, you already have a low hairline, like for a 36-year-old. And so, what are you thinking? How far back?
I mean, I take my finasteride and I soak in my DHT preventing shampoo for an hour every day. So I think I'll be chill. But if it got like deteriorated or any and sort of like a way that my hair couldn't be wet, like if my hair gets wet and you can see my scalp, like that'd be too much.
Yeah, that was some Patrick Bateman shit. Woody, when would you?
How high would it go before I shaved it? I don't know. It's pretty high. Like I can see my scalp. I have less confidence with this haircut than I've ever had.
But just the line.
No, you look cool, man.
You say
cool.
there?
I don't know.
Okay.
It depends. One thing I would shave for, if I had the unicorn spike coming out the front and the baldness at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, get rid of that. Get rid of that little island. I call that the island of shame.
Yeah.
Well, down here you call it a flavor saver, but up there it's just a.
No, down here it's a soul patch, right?
Oh, that's a widow's peak, right? Whenever the hair.
I have a widow's.
It's a widow's peak if it's connected. When it becomes an island, it's just a unicorn horn. In my mind,
I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
That's time to shave.
Yeah, widow's peak's more like about how your hairline is genetically. That's kind of
the widow's peak. Mine, I actually have more of a widow's peak than you can tell. Like I can't do it in a camera, but like this goes up. People think my hairline's really super straight. But it just kind of looks that way. It actually.
Well, it was
widow's peak is here.
I mean, she went in that she went in.
She widowed me up with.
No, this is not what a widow's peak is. A widow's peak is a small point here at the center of your. My hair is so fucking curly. I look like a true Mediterranean when my hair gets long as shit. Other than my Accutane bleach skin.
On your like Tinder or whatever, did you have a picture of you with like the doo-wop thing going on?
Maybe it wasn't intentional. If I did, why should I? Is that a good look? Should I like style it so that the curl comes?
Oh yeah,
because the curl's always coming down. It's always trying.
I need that in my life.
Find ways down.
Mm.
You have the most straight hair ever, Kyle. So
Taylor,
for you, styling
put the curl back. I'm almost there.
I can't. No, I'm gonna tease you. It's organic. I don't cause the curl to come down. It just
I did the same thing as your boy Jack.
Yep.
Working for me either.